Wait,
Are you ready for this?
Ready.
Like this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Red Bank Planning Board will come to order this 18th day of December 2023. The time is 7:04 p.m. Notice meeting is being held in accordance with the public laws of 1975, Chapter 231. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a notice sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times, and it's been posted on the main lobby of Borough Hall and the municipal website. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Portman. Greg Fitzgerald. Thomas Welsh. Christina Bonatakis.
Here.
Sam Mancuso.
Here.
Lou Demento. Barbara Boas.
Here.
Megan Massey.
Here.
Wilson Bibi.
Here.
Itzel Hernandez.
Here.
Frederick Stone
Here.
and Brian Parnigan.
Here. Okay, we're going to hold our administrative matters till the end. We have one public hearing, 199 Riverside Avenue, Block 1, Lot 1, which is continued. The garden at Red Bank in the WD zone for conditional use, the site plan approval, as well as bulk variances. Mr. Byrne, welcome back.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Douglas Byrne, Byrne Associates in Englewood, New Jersey.
Please get right up to the microphone, please, so we can hear you on the recording.
Just give you my appearance, Douglas Byrne of Byrne Associates in Englewood, New Jersey, for the applicant, the garden at Red Bank.
Want to give us an update of where you are since the last meeting?
Yes. So at the last meeting, the board will recall that we heard from our architect, Jesse Moberg, about the facility and the design and other issues of security. We also heard from a security consultant, Mike Allen. We heard from Chris Bednarski, who's our engineer, site plan, and went over the details of the site plan and prior uses, and touched on traffic ingress and egress and some of the realignment of the three existing curb cuts into one. And we also heard from Gary Dean, who is our traffic engineer. He answered questions also about ingress and egress into the site. He had some familiarity with the prior applicant, which was he addressed 4 questions, improvements. We're bringing back Chris Bednarski to answer 4 questions. That's also to address some additional comments that we received from the board engineer in the correspondence dated December 7th. And also Gary Dean will be present to questions and traffic issues. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, we forwarded to you traffic DOT approval from the prior application, which was an approved application for the hotel site, I believe. And they're going to be present to discuss that. Yeah, but
Okay, I appreciate you sending that, and after reviewing it, my personal opinion is it's still a horrible idea.
so what?
A horrible idea to turn northbound out of that site. And I want nothing to do with it.
Want to make the site as safe as possible. So we're certainly interested in from. So with that, I'd like to call Chris Bednarski, he was previously sworn. I don't know what the board's practice is, if you want to re-swear him. This has been a month, but I think he's still.
Mr. Bednarski, you understand you're still under oath?
Yes, I do.
Great, you can proceed.
I would just like to go over a couple of changes that have happened since the,
Why don't you grab that microphone from over there and switch them over someday, maybe in the next century. We'll have a good audio system in this building or some other building maybe that has good audio. But in the meantime, I need you to speak into the microphones.
Okay, Chris, you were previously sworn
yes, I was.
and you testified about the site, the prior use of the gas station, the lighting, landscaping, signage, the waiver we're requesting from the board to park in front.
Yes,
With our
I did.
31 parking spaces, et cetera. So,
Yes, I did. We made a few changes to the site plans for the testimony at the last hearing and a couple comments that were brought up. The first change we made was We swapped out the dumpster enclosure, actual large dumpster with just bins as recommended by the neighbor. That they would be much happier with a smaller scale garbage and recycling option for this site. We actually don't really need the dumpster, so that's why we swapped that out and to meet the comments from the neighbor. In doing such, we were able to put the sidewalk in front of the refuse area and tied into the municipal sidewalk in front of the site. There is a small portion of the sidewalk that goes into the landscape buffer, which we mentioned at the last hearing that if we made that change, there would be a small encroachment there. So we would ask for a technical waiver for that small encroachment into the landscape buffer. I think the benefits outweigh any small issue with the buffer in that location. We also, per the recommendation of the board, there was an existing wooden fence in that area that was falling apart. We have shown a replacement 6-foot solid vinyl fence in that area. Unfortunately, per the ordinance, we would require a waiver from that fence being installed at the same height as it is close to the property line, and you're going to 3-foot high fence that close to the property.
That was a request from the neighbor, correct?
That's correct.
And do you know the existing height of the fence that's there?
I think it's 6 feet. That's why we replaced it. But I think the board chairman asked for a vinyl fence as opposed to a wooden fence being replaced in that area. In addition, on C600, which is our landscape plan that was submitted, we did add a double staggered row of arborvitaes to enhance the screening a little bit further in that area. I saw a comment in the review letter that asked for some dimensioning in that area, which will comply with, no problem. And we also submitted the previously approved traffic plan from the previous Hampton Inns application. And I would let our traffic engineer testify to that application for that plan.
And through that won't be necessary. You know, that was just the chairman wanted to see what the old plan was.
Understood.
Yeah, I was secretly hoping it made
Require
sense,
any
but it doesn't.
No problem. And just to reiterate my testimony from last time, we do meet all the conditional use requirements for the zone. So I have nothing further. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have some questions, just a couple of things to reaffirm. So you're replacing all of the sidewalks on the site that the engineer recommended to be replaced?
The only one which we talked about last time was there's a small area that was replaced previously in the DOT right of way. And we said that was, since that was new sidewalk, we would keep that the same.
Wasn't there, Jackie, was there a note about the sidewalks on the whole length of the site being in disrepair?
There was a note to match.
Doesn't have to turn on.
Oh, am I not on?
Press open. There was a note, I believe, to match the type of sidewalk with the sidewalk on the opposite side of the street. I believe just because it's red red sidewalk right now, so we want it to be consistent on both sides.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah.
And then I made a note about the fence. So you're doing the white fence. And then what about the post and rail? Are you replacing that?
The post and rail in his location.
I don't remember. I just wrote this note that the post and rail should be replaced. I don't recall where it was.
I believe we were just replacing this fence here. That's the only one we show proposed fence.
All right, we'll keep going. Jackie, if you can dig into that for me while we're here and see if there's a note on the post and rail. And have you addressed all of the landscaping and lighting issues that were addressed in the engineer letter?
So that's my knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. And we talked last time about benches. The other engineer who was here mentioned there are places outside of the zone that the state might have a problem with, that you could put some benches for viewing. And one of you were gonna talk about that.
We would agree if we can come up with I mean, we're willing to agree, but the CRC has regulations and we want the site to be secure. We don't want people loitering, obviously. It's designed not to have that. We don't, those are not transparent, all kinds of security concerns, and the neighbors raise a good issue and want to make the area safer. So if we could find we're willing to work with whoever to find a site that's suitable and
Okay.
acceptable to CRC.
Okay, fair enough. And I think
I would say yes, but
that's perfectly acceptable. And I think somewhere on the north side, there should be some space over there. My last question, then I'll open it up to the rest of the board and the public. I specifically remember mentioning, I'd really like to see that trash enclosure on the north. You have plenty of room over there. And the old trash enclosure was nowhere near the house. It was all the way down by Mr. Mulvihill's garage. So, I mean, it's way up now. And I realize that the building change and everything, but it seems like you've got plenty of room in the north to put it there. And now that it's not going to be as large or involve a dumpster, I feel like there's a better place to put the garbage than next to the neighbor's house.
I believe the consideration for on our end was that the location of the dumpster here, while being a little bit closer to the property here than most would like, is a better location than having the first thing you see as you enter the site. It would be very tough to screen there, and the traffic circulation in that area would be very difficult to get the dumpster, the refuse vehicle in and out without having some kind of jockeying position, possibly on Highway 35.
How many cans do you envision having?
We only show 4 cans in that dumpster enclosure now.
So if a trash truck is gonna pull into this site and pull all the way down to the south, they're gonna have to turn around, right?
Yes, we do have that area for the loading that they could bring around in right there.
And I recall the testimony was that you envisioned trash pickup coming before the business was open.
Yes, and off hours, yes.
So why can't they pull in, turn around, come back to the north and pick up the garbage along? If you have 4 cans, why can't you have them on the side of the building? You don't have a sidewalk on the north side of the building. Why can't you just put 4 cans with a very simple enclosure on the north side of the building?
There's room in that general area for something.
I mean, throw a small concrete pad next to the exit on the north and line 4 cans up behind a little enclosure.
I think if it's do it and still aesthetically okay, then and it's not gonna interrupt traffic flow because we are picking up trash at all hours. I see no problem, but
All right,
I'm
good.
not an engineer, they like a perfect world and I can understand.
Well, then your engineer can submit something to our engineer. Does anyone else on the board have any questions for the engineer at this point about any of the testimony?
Just a clarification, our mic's now working.
Oh, somebody's.
There you go.
We are not approving either a left-hand turn in, or that is not in the plan,
Correct, it's.
and nor is there in the plan a left-hand turn out.
Correct,
It's right in only and right out only.
correct.
And
If we were to approve this, that's the only way I would vote.
And the engineering plans reflect that at present, is that correct?
Currently, we just show a stop sign on there. We did not restrict it, but if that's the only way to gain its approval, I think.
I can put it in as a condition, make it quite clear.
I agree. Mr. Bednarski, another question. Thank you, Wilson, for reminding me. Is there a way you can engineer the exit to make it more difficult for someone who wants to turn north out of that site? Whether with the sidewalks or the curbing? You know, I'd like them to tear one of the rear wheels off their car if they try and turn north so that they'll never do it again. You know, you know what I'm talking about with the returning radius or the way you design that. If there's a way you could do that, and if you want to talk to our engineer about it, that's fine. I don't think anyone wants a north turn out of this site. And if anything that you can do with the radius of that driveway or curbing to help us with that, it would go a long way.
Yes, and you know, there are engineering options to do such that, you know, it's it kind of looks like a pork chop.
Yes.
Curb island that directs it in one way. I would defer to our traffic engineer for any testimony to maybe sway you or change your minds on the matter. Because the left turn in and out is really his forte.
Hey, we can wait.
But there could be an option if that was requested.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Wilson. Anything else? Anyone else on the board have any questions?
Chairman, I had a question regarding the parking. I don't think we've really talked about parking, but I just had a question. So there are 31 spaces, but only 11 are required, right? So is there any place where we can potentially reduce the parking on site to make it, considering it's the entrance or one of the future entrances to Red Bank? It would be nice to not be met with just asphalt parking lot, especially when it's not needed and we're trying to dissuade cars from making these turns. So why not focus more on pedestrian bicycle access? So that could be just as dicey, but like at least then we're encouraging people to walk to the dispensary or bike. And then you can have more room for greenery, landscape buffer. It can open up a bit more to make it more of a destination, though I know loitering is not.
I'm open to that if whether you or Mr. Byrne want to talk or Mr. Dean want to talk about that, you're welcome to.
Sure, I can touch on it and then we can have our other professionals do. We are well, any kind of impervious coverage requirement for the zone. So we are within, the approved allowable for impervious coverage. For parking, it's usually generally better to have more parking in case the site is actually even more successful than we envisioned. So it's always good to have additional parking. There could be a couple locations possibly to scale back some parking, but I think overall we would like to keep as much parking as we can. Site in hopes that it's even more successful than we envisioned.
My only thought, Megan, with that is that I worry that if we take a half a dozen spots out and they are wildly successful, there's really no off-site spot where someone can park their car and walk here easily. They're gonna park in the lighthouse, which in the middle of the winter might be fine, but the laundromat is not a fan of people parking there that aren't using their services. So that's my only concern, but if Mr. Dean wants to talk about it as well, I'm open to it. I just don't, and I realize that for this use, you only need a small number of spaces. But because there's nowhere else for someone to park, that's the only reason that it worries me. But I'm open to it. If anyone else on the board wants to comment on that, you're welcome to. I'm certainly not against it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about the parking also, which generated from this conversation. Is this parking for employees as well as clients?
Employees would park here as well as the clients, yes.
Okay, so would there be any way to spread that out and put you have a lot of room in the back, have some parking for the employees out of the front of the building?
Unfortunately, as I testified to previously, the whole site is encumbered by environmental constraints.
Yeah.
So we were holding within the previously disturbed area on the site, so as to be able to gain approval from the DEP.
And slope drops off pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's some site constraints there.
I know it, I didn't know how wide it was, the slope, till you got to the abyss there. Okay. Just,
We'll add, we went through extensive discussions with the River Center. And this is not something they ever brought up. They tweaked our design, they had some other comments about the aesthetics, but they were concerned about green space, but I think the fact that we had more than ample parking was an asset to the patient. Right.
Anyone else on the board?
Just to pick up on that point, I think looking at it, if we were to reduce parking, seems like a natural place to reduce the parking where there's already a concern about the trash enclosure and the proximity to the neighbor. And considering that Strollo's, which is quite a fixture location, is right there, filled with pedestrians. And there's also this idea around passive enjoyment of the river. It might be something to consider about somehow turning that into a landscape feature if reducing parking was something that was worth considering. Also understanding that that crosswalk is a bit of an issue and it's a pedestrian sort of hazard. I could see that being a natural place for a green space, particularly that it's at a gateway into Red Bank. So it's just a thought.
Jackie, you have any thoughts on the parking?
Parking is a tough subject. I tend to agree that there's no way to get it back once you don't put it in. With the cannabis applications, the data that they're using is there hasn't been a lot of cannabis applications. And so the need for the parking requirement is sometimes maybe not as much as you would anticipate. So I would tend to be a little bit more conservative with the parking. Especially, again, it's just the side streets that they would park in. And if they are reducing impervious, from a stormwater standpoint, it doesn't really affect it that much. Although I do agree, green space is better. I just think if it is popular, you tend to, there's no way to get it back.
Oh, turn off your mic.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna ask, how does the parking requirement for cannabis compare to other retail or a restaurant, for example? It's the same.
It's the same requirement for retail.
Does anyone from the public have any questions regarding the engineering testimony at this time? Mr. Mulvihill?
Mr. Burns, can you just move your mic?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, you're still under oath.
Gotcha, thank you. Thank you. Can I just look at? Can I walk over there and look?
Sure.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
If you could just speak into the mic and ask your question. Just speak into the mic and ask your question.
Sorry. You said you were gonna put a double row of arborvitae's, where were you gonna do?
It's on the C600 landscape plan. So right here, we had the double row along the property.
Thank you. Where was the controversy over the garbage thing? I know they want to put it over here. Where were you gonna put it with the small cans?
So the small cans would stay in the same location, screened by the double row of arborvitae's. And it would just be a less noisy operation in general over there.
Were they like the one man cans? Did they?
I think that or the it could be the machine grabbed cans.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Most of like, here, they have one man cans. Well, I'll go with whatever the board thinks on that. I do kind of feel that, you could probably put them over there. I'm not trying to, I appreciate what you've done. I really do. I own 2 office buildings and I know what it is to have cans in where they are. So you got rid of the dumpster. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate the arborvitae's. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That place is a mess and anything we do is pretty good, I think. So,
And the fence too.
and the parking, I don't know, I'll let the board, the parking doesn't affect me that much. I think that it satisfied me very well there. I appreciate you with the dumpster, really do. One other question. I don't know if you can answer me that. You mentioned in the beginning the hours of operation. What, you said 8 o'clock.
Location. I don't think I have it in my. Well,
I think the ordinance
The-
sets the hours.
So condition D of the ordinance calls for no business to be open before 8 AM or remain open after 10 PM. And so we said we would comply with that requirement. It may be a little bit later opening, a little earlier closing, but at this time we would just comply.
Like the town.
No, yeah, it's fine. The gas station was, they were there late. How high will those arborvitae's be?
At full maturity, probably 6 to 8 feet high.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. After what I've been to that place, every time they came to clean it up, I knew something was gonna happen. And when the Exxon was there, they had a nice buffer there, but then over the years, it disintegrated. We down those two big ugly looking trees.
Yeah, we're replacing all the landscaping.
Oh, boy. You're my man. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Viscomi? Were you sworn last time?
Yes,
Okay, so you're still under oath, right?
Sure.
Go.
last meeting, there was a gentleman here that brought up some kind of chemicals he had pictures of. I don't know if you were the gentleman to confirm that or what you're gonna do about that?
I don't recall seeing any of the,
I don't recall seeing the pictures, but the two properties over, I think it was the gentleman who owns the property next to Mr. Mulvihill mentioned some chemical-like runoff on the back of his property. Did you guys look into that at all?
We have remediation going on at the site. The seller actually has it, the present property owner. So it's under DEP supervision and I know they're monitoring things and it's supposed to be cleaned up before we go in there. It's got to be certified and there's very rigorous controls by the DEP.
And do you have any information about the state of the remediation or where they are in the process?
I don't have an up to the minute report. I can get it for the board.
If you could submit that to the engineer or to Shauna, we'd like to take a look at it. I realize that there's nothing really for you to do because it's an active
Yeah. and-
site already.
Yes, correct. As a Exxon station, so. It's under the jurisdiction of DEP.
So we'll get that and make it available.
And I guess we'll find that out in the report, if it's going into the river currently, or is there any fines or anything?
If there are, it would not be against the
Oh,
applicant.
yeah, obviously, I'm just saying it was, is someone gonna follow up when they get that report? I mean, if there's chemicals going in the river, the impact of that and any fines for that, I was.
We can certainly contact the state for that. We don't do that. I mean, the DEP does that, but we'll certainly take a look at the report.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public have any questions regarding the testimony so far tonight? Okay,
What's next, Mr. Byrne?
I have Gary Dean as our traffic engineer to answer any additional questions the board may have.
Chair,
Previously sworn.
just that question on the post and rail.
Yes, go ahead.
That was one of our comments. I believe it was 3.15. We asked for it to be replaced. I guess it was damaged. It's by along the river frontage.
so are you okay to replace the post and rail?
which comment was
This is
3.15. You can see it on your survey. It's underneath
sorry.
a line.
Yeah, I think that's.
we have no issue with replacing.
Yeah, no, we're gonna comply with that.
Thank you.
For that plan.
Good evening, Gary Dean from Dolan and Dean.
You're still under oath from last time.
Thank you.
Gary, last time we were here, you,
Mr. Byrne, please grab that microphone. Sorry.
thank you.
We're not,
Gary, last
I'm
time,
gonna go through again the left turns, are we?
yeah,
We are?
well, he'll address the board's questions,
We don't want the left turn. There are
We
no.
don't want the left turn.
board's opinion, but
You know, this left turn thing, we had the hotel, we had last time. I don't think the board wants to hear anymore. We pretty resolved that the board.
I apologize if I gave you false hope that we were
Yeah,
interested. I really just wanted to see the plan.
Let's not dig in.
We hate it.
Again.
you weren't here for the hotel.
I was, well, Mr.
Right, Mr. Byrne.
It was.
I have the floor for a nanosecond. Chief McConnell issued a report to this board that said even left turn into the site are questionable. Here it comes, unless the applicant could get DOT to approve
Here we go.
a lane adjustment to make a dedicated turn lane into the site.
We're
That's
going right into it all over again. Please, the board does not want it. I guarantee you, you won't have one positive vote. If that's in your plan. So if you just want to keep on going,
It is in
you're
response.
gonna take an appeal of of the condition, you can always do that. But I think it's so clear that nobody here wants a left turn in or a left turn.
Other than the police chief.
The other than a police, and guess what? He doesn't vote.
Sir, I understand we are here.
He only works here for 2 more weeks.
Right.
Discuss.
It doesn't matter. You keep on beating a dead horse, and I don't know how long you're gonna keep on doing it.
The chairman asked us to present the plan.
And yes, he
You
just
did.
apologized for asking for it.
We got it and we don't like it.
The second plan shows the island that the board approved for the Hampton Inn that will destroy the rear wheel of someone.
That's my plan.
So that was the approval for the Hampton Inn, and it is one of these exhibits. We have a painted channelizing island. We'll make it concrete and we'll resuscitate the approval DOT previously granted for right in, right out.
We do not want a left turn in or a left turn out.
Understood.
Okay.
We're not here to- As I said the first time, it was a discussion, not a position,
It's
so
all my fault.
it's all
I
resolved.
take full responsibility.
As to the parking, our report looked at specific parking studies that have been done for cannabis and looking at existing sites. Anyone who's been up or down Route 35 to AYR in Eatontown or Zenleaf and Neptune, they get busy. In my opinion, applying a one-size-fits-all retail parking standard for cannabis is going to leave you short of parking. And so looking at the data compiled for dispensaries for this size building, we would need 19 spaces, but everyone would be full. So we always want to have a little buffer so that we don't have traffic backing up on Route 35. And that buffer, let's say it's a little 20%. And we know that there's a little bit of seasonality over the summer. There might be an uptick in visitor visits over the summer. So do we need 31? Maybe not 31, but 29. I wouldn't go much less than that in terms of, you don't want to have a business fail when it opens because of insufficient parking. So we're orienting this with an eye toward it being, we'll say, the new shiny toy when it opens and being popular for some period, but we don't want traffic parking or backing up on Route 35 at our driveway. That's why we've put in the number of spaces that's proposed.
Remind us again how many employees at any one time you envisioned?
I think the testimony is 5 at any given time. We have security, we have people on the floor, and people in the back office.
So,
I think it was 5 or 6.
so this question might be for Mr. Bednarski, not Mr. Dean, but either of you could answer. What do you think about making the 6 furthest south spaces some kind of design with pervious parking spaces and have that just for employees? You know, 3 and 3,
Side?
3 and 3 to the south side, I apologize, by the trash area that's not gonna be there.
In terms of signing it for employees, I think one of them is EV and that's who would use EV because they're there all day. So I'm not sure if that can be, maybe if it's pervious pavement, I'll have to defer to Mr. Bednarski. Practically speaking, I don't see an issue from that from a traffic engineer's perspective. And that has the fewest parking turnovers immediately adjacent to the
Right.
neighbors. So I think there's a double bonus for that.
I like the idea of pervious pavers, but I know they compact, but did they count against the pervious here?
They're considered the same, I believe.
Believe there's a 50% credit.
Say that again?
I believe there's a
50% credit.
Mr. Bednarski, I can't see you, but what do you give us an opinion on that from an engineering standpoint?
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue with, if they were pervious pavers at all. Another option could be, you know, instead of actually having the parking there, could be like a green bank type situation where we get approval for the parking, and if we need the extra parking, we could always construct it in the future. I think the pervious pavement is more of with, you know, just, managing the stormwater, and we don't have an issue with stormwater on this site. So I think a green bank might be a nice compromise between the two options. So that could just be.
If you want to amend the plan and throw that our way, that would be good. Okay.
I heard you say that, Wilson. I'm not taking credit for that.
Anyone from the board have any questions for Mr. Dean regarding traffic? Anyone from the public have any questions relating to traffic? Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, I don't have any further witnesses. I think the board knows the application. It's a 2,523 square foot, state-of-the-art, new construction, ground up, cannabis dispensary. Professionally designed. You heard from Jesse Moberg, our architect from Boston. It's secure, it's a low intensity use, certainly lower than the Hampton Inn, or the 8-pump gas station that was there. We are realigning the access, 3 curb cuts to 1. Board's familiar with the circulation, and now with the egress and ingress. We've agreed to all the conditions in the engineer's report. We've agreed to some additional conditions, which I'm sure Mr. Lexstein has noted, including the recent addition of pervious pavers or green bank, whatever the board prefers on that. I don't know how the green.
Have 6 spaces.
Picking
I
up.
think we're okay with the pervious pavers.
Pavers.
I like the idea of the green bank.
Green bank makes sense too.
That sounds fine.
Green bank there instead of.
And how would that work? We go to the engineer if suddenly
green.
you have a big opening day and they need to access those parking spaces.
Duncan.
What's that? Good girl.
She should be able to. do
Yeah, it could be administratively done.
Yeah, because as long as it conforms with this plan, and then you're not going to expand beyond this, the engineer can do that administratively. That's fine, because it's either going to be this or 6 fewer.
So I just,
Have a question for that. This means relocating the EV charging station if you're gonna do the green bank in that area.
Place for it would have to be, I think, perhaps put it on the north side. In the last space on the north side.
Does it have to be a last space?
Yes, we do that.
Yeah, I think it's, any of the spaces closer to the building would be better for the
Yeah.
like electrical run. This space would be fine unless we wanted to put it one.
As long as you put it there, well, I don't think that we particularly care where it is.
yeah, because it's like have make ready space for parking, like how we would for EV.
We've requested landscape buffer, as Chris explained. We've requested a waiver for the height of the fence. We're replacing a 6-foot fence with another 6-foot fence, only white vinyl. And as the chairman noted, there's a condition, as your engineer noted, there's a condition on the stockade fence, not stockade, I'm sorry, it's a post and rail fence. And we're going to be replacing that. We're complying with all the requests in the December 7th letter. We're moving the stretched. No, actually it's staying, I think, on the south side.
No.
They're moving it next to.
You're gonna move it next to the building on the north side.
From dumpster to cans. In response to Mr. Mulvihill's request. And in all other respects, it's a compliant plan. In accordance with your ordinance. Had a good discussion with the River Center. Design considerations. If we can find a place for the bench. Or a seating area for the public, I'd like to do that to create a view corridor for people who are in that area. But, we can't ensure that. That has to be, we'll work towards that if we can. In other respects, we ask for your approval of the site.
Jackie, do you have anything else?
Just a copy of the environmental documents.
Yes.
Does anyone from the public have any comments or questions regarding this application?
On the first application, we talked about a generator. Is that generator still gonna be on the property?
I think we do have a generator, yes.
Yeah, where was that?
We have that for security purposes.
I think it was on the roof, wasn't it?
On the roof.
Yes. That's still gonna be,
Yeah, we have, that's important to maintain
Yeah, well,
cameras. and-
yeah, I understand that. I just worried about the noise a little bit. But there was a discussion on, the KW of it. And
I think that typically,
He said-
just housing with sound attenuation should be that.
okay, okay, all right, that's fine. I understand.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the public? We have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Any abstained or? No? Okay, anyone from the board have any comments, questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
Can I make a comment?
You sure can.
I noticed something that's happened down by Riverview Hospital. And we about 5 years ago, asked them to make their property before they built on it pretty and not have those green things up around it and make it. And they have been now done that on one side, and the piece of property that they have purchased on the corner of Spring, they have done that too. It's almost like a little park there. I would like, I was getting there. I would like to ask if we could ask them to try to just not have those green flapping things in the wind and all. I mean, that is, it's been a horrible spot for years. I anticipate a much nicer spot. The pictures and everything look absolutely gorgeous. But in the process, there are times when there is not work being done. And if that could be kept as neat and as clean as humanly possible, I would appreciate it. And I think everyone in the town would appreciate it. That's just a little bug I have, but yeah. Thank you for listening.
I made a note, we have been after the property owner
Well,
on a few occasions to address things that we've heard from the municipality, so. On that.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or choose to make a motion?
I just want to confirm, last time there was a conversation about the sign that it said that it was a dispensary and they were gonna remove that from the signage.
Someone clarified, they're gonna comply with the regulations for signage.
Got it.
Someone brought something up, but whatever the state rules are, they're gonna comply.
No.
I don't remember what was it?
It was, and I showed it to the professional who testified that in our ordinance.
Yes,
says it
it's
cannot
different.
be Dispensary, so they have to revise their signage ordinance to remove the word dispensary from it.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah. I just remember that it was different for Red Bank.
You have to go by the local ordinance and CRC regulations.
That being said, I will make a motion to approve the application. My main reasons are that this is a tremendously less intense use than was previously approved. Reducing the number of curb cuts is a huge win in my mind, and I love the fact that it's just a single-story building. So that, along with all of the conditions we've discussed, the engineering letter and everything we've spoken about at the public hearings, I make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Christina Bonatakis?
Just say it loud.
No.
Dia Mancuso?
Yes.
Barbara Boas,
Yes.
Megan Massey,
Yes.
Wilson Bibi,
Yes.
Itzel Hernandez,
Yes.
Frederick Stone,
I abstain,
Oh, yes,
I wasn't
yeah.
present for the
Yeah.
first half of the hearing.
and Brian Carnigan.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we've got some administrative matters. We have the minutes of November 6th and November 20th. I know you all spent a great deal of time reviewing these minutes for accuracy and completion. If any of you have any comments or additions, say now or not. I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes. Is there a second? Both.
Second from Barbara.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
I abstain on the November sixth.
Okay. We have two resolutions of approval, doing one at a time. We have 14 Wharf Avenue, block 10, lots 4 and 5. That's the Red Rock. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
You all in favor of roll call? Michael, all in favor of roll call? We'll do that for
No,
the
a roll
resolution.
call.
Sorry. Christina Bonatakis,
Yes.
Emily Kuso, Barbara Boyd,
Yes.
Megan Massey,
Yes.
Wilson Bibi,
Yes.
Itzel Hernandez.
Yes.
Frederick Stone
Yes.
and Brian Carnigan.
Yes.
And then we have the resolution of approval for 62 White Street, block 30, lot 46, which perhaps in the last several years, I've had more questions and comments from people I run into about what's going into this site. And when I tell them, they're as excited as I was when it was here. I just think it's a great use. And I was thrilled that that's what's happening with this building. So there's just some commentary for me. Would someone like to make?
In the resolution, I put that this building is an icon.
It really is, you know, it really is. I'll move to approve it.
Second.
All right, Christina Bonatakis,
Yes.
Tammy Kuso,
Yes.
Barbara Boas,
Yes.
Megan Massey,
Yes.
Wilson Bibi,
Yes.
Itzel Hernandez,
Yes.
Frederick Stone,
Yes.
Brian Carnigan.
Yes.
Next meeting is
Our next meeting is the 18th.
8. Oh, right, Martin Luther King is Monday,
Yeah.
the 15th. So our next meeting is January 18th. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, a fantastic new year. And there was something else that was on the tip of my tongue and I've since forgotten it. But that's it. Motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, what was the date of the next meeting?
The 18th, because Martin
A
Luther King
Thursday
Day
night.
is Monday, the 15th.
Got it.
Council meeting that night? No, you wouldn't.
This is a Wednesday,
Thursday.
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 Wait,
Oh.
oh, I'm sorry. No, no, no,
17th?
no. That was me. I'm sorry.
It's the 17th.
It falls on our Monday.
The 14th?
Sorry, that was me. I mistaken the
Hold,
dates.
please. We're connecting you to the proper.
We've got the 8th, the 15th, to the 22nd, Mondays.
January
January 8th.
8th, yes, it's the 8th.
January 8th.
That is
Birthday, you can't.
It's your birthday?
Oh.
Amazing. That's not in my calendar. Oh,
January
it is.
8th.
Look, it's there. See, I would have known that. It is in my calendar.
Same as
January 8th. Thank you, everyone. for
Elvis,
coming. It's
too.
always nice to see.
Well,
members of the-
do we not have a meeting on the 22nd?
what? No.
How many one meeting at a time?
Which 20th of January?
No, he's talking
It's not.
December.
I do not have a meeting on my
Okay.
calendar for the 22nd,
I would
for
have-
whatever reason.
Do you have somebody's birthday?
No,
It's
nope,
18th.
nothing there.
No.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'd like to thank the board very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
John? My sister said happy Christmas.
to everybody there. Appreciate it very much. It's a lot off my mind now. Worried about that.
Right?
There's
Good to see if they proceed.
this in a motel. Look not, a lot nicer there.
Okay. I did.
Merry Christmas, John.
That's fine. 6 people will be most like it.
The whole damn thing.
But,
I just feel like
I think,
it's against,
um,
it doesn't comport with the